Hey, good morning, all. Welcome to the Common Good Podcast. It's 28th of September today. Makes it a Thursday if you're following the Julian calendar. So we're on. Are we on the Julian calendar? I use that joke a lot, and I don't even know which one we're. If you follow the Julian calendar, it makes it a Thursday, the 23rd. Hey, and you know what it is today? It's the day after Huckson Pagitt's birthday. Little Huckson Pagitt, born yesterday, Paul.
Yours?
Yesterday. Well, not my child.
No,
my
but
son's,
your
my son and daughter-in-law's child.
Well, congratulations, Doug.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, I don't play the patriarchy game as much, so I try not to take a lot of credit for such things, but still a great day. You know, I mean, I'm real downline on that accomplishment. But yeah, really, really great.
But it strangely does feel like an accomplishment, doesn't it?
Somehow, yeah, it's really great. So the sweetest little face. I mean, all these little baby faces, just doggone adorable. So happy birthday. I got to see him yesterday, probably get to see him today. I live here in Minneapolis, where, by the way, the weather is supposed to be nice today, but it looks wet and cloudy.
Yeah?
Yeah. This has been a very wet fall here. When
do you have like proper fall with the trees and all that doing their thing? Is it happening now?
Yeah, it starts now. I mean, there's a few trees that get a little, ready to leave town, those leaves, and they start changing early September.
Really?
So yeah. But it'll be, October is really the time when the colors pop.
Yeah.
And I don't know. You probably know this because you're a birder, but something about moisture level has something to do with how colorful the leaves are, and then how windy, because very often the wind blows the leaves off the trees, and if
I had not
big
thought
winds
of
come through.
I had not thought of the wind factor, but yeah, I knew about the moisture piece. But we don't get it down here until, I mean, it's really early November when it peaks here.
And are you in a place where there's lots of color? You
yeah.
By the way, Decatur, Georgia, where you are, weather check-in, of course.
We're about 1,000 feet up above sea level, so we have a lot of hardwoods and stuff, and so we get a pretty good dose of color.
You're 1,000.
Not like New England, but still pretty good. Yeah, Atlanta's like it's like a second highest baseball field other than Denver. Just a little fact. Yeah. Second highest major league stadium.
Wow.
After Denver. Actually, is that still true? Have they added more clubs over, like in Arizona and something? That might be higher, actually. The Diamondbacks might be higher. I don't know. But we're pretty high up.
The Diamondbacks are where?
Arizona. They could be. It depends on where in Arizona. They could be higher.
Yeah, I'll tell you, as someone who's ridden his bike across Arizona, when I rode across the country, Arizona, shockingly mountainous and hilly.
Yeah.
It kept getting to 4,000 feet and then back down to almost zero and then back up to 4,000 feet. I mean,
gave you a workout, huh?
Yeah. Just a Minnesota kid like me is under the illusion that Arizona is a desert. It's also a mountain range.
Yeah.
Yeah. A real serious thing. Well, okay. So that blows my mind that I honestly don't even know what elevation above sea level the place I live is. I'm going to ask Siri right now. Hey, Siri, what elevation is the city of Minneapolis? Let's see.
Minneapolis is 866 feet above sea level.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Atlanta's a little higher, but not much.
Yeah. I mean, enough where you knew about it and I didn't. I'm going to start going around like, we're just over 860 square feet above.
Well, the Appalachians, we're really in the foothills of the Appalachians. So, and you just go an hour north and you're in the mountains. So, hour and a half.
I mean, couldn't somebody go up 150-foot hill? Isn't that even possible? Like,
sure, we're talking about average elevation, though.
Yeah. Maybe that's how that stadium gets higher. Is it like up on a hill? They build it up like a city?
No, but Atlanta is built on a ridge, Peachtree Street, which is the main, which is mainly the whole city's like structured around Peachtree Street, and it runs along it's an old Indian trail, and those ran along ridges. Yeah.
Well, Alex is bragging that her city, where she lives, Tampa Bay, is 13 feet above sea level.
13 feet.
And if she wants,
Uh,
she can be like 3 inches above sea level when she goes and stands on her high heel shoes
yeah, yeah,
down by the
yeah.
ocean. So, yeah, right on. Good for her. Hey, Paul. So lots of things happening. How is school? People who don't know will be glad to hear that you're a professor
Yep.
and a birder. So I want to check in always on 2 things. How are the kids doing in school? Are they thriving? Because the children are our future. So how are they coming along?
They are our future, and they're doing pretty well actually. The campus feels a little more normal. Oops, froze up.
Oh,
Can you
not on
hear me?
this end. Yep. Yeah, you're still working
Okay,
over here.
froze up a bit, but the kids are fine. The feeling on campus feels a little more like every year post COVID, it gets a little more.
Okay,
I
a
don't
little
know
more
if
normal.
normal's the right word, but a little more. There's a little more activity, a little more, less, fewer people hiding.
Well, last time
You
we
know,
talked, I said, "Hey, would you break out the secrets from Agnes Scott University and let us, or is it a college? Do you guys go by college or
college, yeah,
university? Agnes Scott
college, yeah,
College.
yeah.
See what I did there? I've been working on this, Paul. I'm not going to call it St. Agnes anymore.
St. Agnes anymore. Yeah,
I'm
you're
done
getting
with
there. You're
that
getting there. Yeah,
old
yeah.
life. I'm
No,
leaving it behind. I'm not returning to that old life no
we only
more.
have 1,000. We only have 1,000 students, so it's definitely not a university.
Oh, is that
Only
what it is?
1,000.
It's the size of
Mm-hmm.
it's the student
So,
enrollment.
well, no. Technically, I think it has to do with like a university. To me, is like a collection of schools.
Yeah,
Like you've got an undergraduate college, you've got a graduate school, you've got a business school, you've got a law school. That's a university in my
I see.
mind.
I see.
That collection of all those schools together. But we're just undergraduate, so
Just a little
most places that are just undergraduate have kept the name college, but some of them, I think, feel like they
yeah.
need to
Need to
call
compete.
themselves university.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, you sent notes from I asked you to take a photo of what you were putting on the whiteboard or chalkboard for your
Yeah.
advanced
That was
students.
last one. Yeah.
It was fantastic. Did they get it? Did you feel like you communicated it well? They put it down in their
I
notes or their iPads and
I did my best to communicate it. They asked questions. We had a couple of discussions.
and your work is done.
And we've had homework on that topic, and I'm actually sitting right here on my desk right now, right there, and I haven't graded it yet, so we'll see.
Okay. Hey, well, you're going to
They keep up though.
take us to school today because I sent a couple of things to you, wanting to know about these
Yeah.
quirks and about the CERN laboratory, the collider, and all that. It's a big story in popular mechanics, as I'm sure all this audience knows because they're keeping up on their popular mechanics headlines.
That's right.
But let's check in on birding. Quick note from Yabbits, who lives there in your area. He says, we saw our first catbird in 2 months. The mockingbirds disappeared in July, yet to return.
And where is Yabbits?
He's there in your area in Yabbits can tell us here, but I think somewhere in the broader Atlanta.
It's funny.
area,
I was just walking up the
hill.
hill to the observatory this morning, and I heard a catbird, and they do actually sound, in my opinion, they actually do sound like cats. And I thought to myself, that might be the last one that I hear because they migrate away from here in the fall. They go down. South Georgia is about as far north as they are in the winter. So that might have been my last catbird of the year. Anytime they're going to be gone, and I won't hear that sound again until April.
Yeah. Now I know I've done this to you before in amazement at your ear, but you're just walking along and you just hear sounds and you can name that bird.
Yeah.
How many birds do you guess you got in your database up there?
That I can just identify
30?
without.
Yeah, I mean, you're just walking along. You're like, oh, you got 15 of those. You got 30.
No, I got probably, I'd say between 50 and 70. Probably.
We were on a walk, and there's a little walking path on one side of the road, small little 2-lane road by our house. So we're walking on the walking path, and this owl was hooting. And Shelly, my wife, said to one of the kids that we were walking with in the neighborhood, the kids like to come walk the elderly people around the neighborhood here, so it's very kind of them. This is said to the little Harriet, oh, do you hear the owl? and a person across the street, not in our conversation, interrupted and said, no, that's not an owl. That's
it's a
dove
dove.
A dove of some kind. So not only do Shelley and I not have 50 random, for years, I'm telling you, for years, we believe that was an owl.
Yeah, it's a common. That's a really, really.
Oh.
It's called it's probably a mourning dove. It's a super common mistake because it sounds sort of mournful and low and kind of spooky, and it does. And they're common. So, and they make noise all the time. So yeah, that's a common thing to think that it's an owl. I wouldn't feel too bad about it.
Since 1999, we've been like, oh, there's that. We've been living under the illusion that there's common owls in our place, and there are no owls. Okay, so you've been on your hunt to go to all the counties in Georgia.
Yep.
And to spend some significant amount of time there to spot birds. Where are you at on your endeavor?
Well, I haven't done much in the last couple of months. It kind of came to a grinding halt at the end of summer because of my job, but I did go a few weeks ago down to a river called the Flint River in Georgia. And I realized, as I've been staring at maps of Georgia lately, because of this project, I've got to bird all these counties. And I realized there's this river in Georgia called the Flint River. And it actually begins as like just bubbles up as a groundwater seepage. It just north of the Atlanta airport. And then it flows under the airport, under 4 runways, the international terminal, and across like 14 lanes of interstate. And then it emerges at the base of a retaining wall. And then it flows for 220 miles undammed from there. And it doesn't cross any interstates, go through any major towns. And I realized I'd never seen the Flint River before. So I went.
So you went.
And I went and I saw it. It was beautiful. I had no clue that was in Georgia. And I saw a migrant. This was the first migrant of the season that I saw. It was a sandpiper.
Now you're speaking of birds. Some people who listen to this live stream of podcast, when we start talking we're talking about
so
people.
A migrant in the middle of the river. No. I can see how that would be confusing. A sandpiper, a species of sandpiper. Birds usually, oftentimes migrate along rivers. They just follow rivers down. And this one was going down the river. And so it was a beautiful place.
Floating on the river. Well, great. Well, congratulations on keeping moving on this ambitious goal of yours to see birds in all the counties in Georgia over the next.
It's a lot of counties.
The rest of your life or whatever it is you're going to do.
Probably at this rate, I'll probably be the next 5 years before I finish. Maybe 3.
Kimberly is glad that we're on early today. I think that's what her yay early today comment is, because on Thursdays, yes, we start at 8 a.m. in the Central Time Zone, 9 a.m. Eastern Time Zone, because Paul has to go teach the good kids of Agnes Scott College.
There you go.
Thank you. And as it is not St. Agnes University, you can Google St. Agnes University and Paul Wallace all you want. You're not going to find him there. You're going to find him at Agnes Scott College. All right, Paul.
That's right.
We like to talk about things up in the sky, stars. We like to talk about birds. I would like to talk about our dreams, all this highfalutin things. Well, NASA has finally given us the answer on UFOs, and they're saying, yeah, there ain't none. That's it. NASA came out, and one of the great quotes from this is the head, this guy who used to be a senator, now the head of NASA. What's his name? Bill Richards or something. You know what I'm speaking of?
Yeah, that's right.
What his name is? Yeah, something like that. Said, look, people always want to know if the government's hiding anything from them. We want you to know we are the government, and there's no UFOs. So okay, settled.
I'm like the least conspiracy minded person in the world.
Yeah,
I got to tell you, I really am not. But when I read things like that, I'm like,
Really, thou
Like
doth protest too
you really
much.
have to. You really have to. Yeah, exactly. It's a little too much. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I believe what I got from it was that it's not so much that they don't exist than it was we don't have any evidence that
Yeah. Their point
what we
is
have in hand is not sufficient for us
that's
to
it.
say
That's it. All the
yeah.
things we've seen, we've looked at all of it. It's weather balloons and weather phenomena, and that's it. And then they said,
It's
and there's
probably
some
it's probably also a little bit of bourbon or other alcoholic drinks.
a number of us were struck by the testimony of a former, I think, Air Force pilot this fall before Congress, I think testifying, which ultimately came to this committee from NASA saying what they said, that there's the task force finds no evidence for alien craft. Which again, look, NASA, if you just want to keep keeping people disappointed in you, just keep saying this stuff. Like what they need to say is NASA is relevant. We're going to fly to the moon. We're going to fly to Mars, and we're going to figure out if there's any life out there. Like keep the
There you
intrigue
go.
alive, you know? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes science
Yeah.
and marketing
Right.
maybe run into each other. But there was this pilot.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
who
That would
said,
be a good line. We're going to figure it out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
I
can
like
tell
that.
you this: the universe is a big place, and we're never going to stop looking. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think there's any intelligent life out there either, because if so, what are they hiding for? I mean, what's all the dishing and dashing around with the with the fighter pilots for? Like, and if you're up to if they're up to whatever, I don't know, building pyramids or experimenting on our livers and extracting whatever they're extracting out of human livers when they put people
Crop circles.
crop circles. Why are they showing their hand a little bit? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, I don't know. None of it sort of makes any sense. But there are a lot of people, I was one of them, who were really struck by this, I believe it was an Air Force pilot who's like, look, here's what I saw over, extended period of seconds, a minute or more, something like that. And it was just something I could not explain. They kind of alluded to that in this article and in the press conference that NASA did. Basically, NASA said, look, there are some things we can explain, and we can tell you what they are by the claims people have made. And then there's some things that we can't tell you what they are, not because we don't know, but because the government keeps secrets on how it knows what things are. I thought that was fascinating. You know what I'm talking about? Did you read that part of the article?
Yeah.
I thought now there's some intrigue. Like we can tell you how we discovered that thing was a balloon, or that thing was a flare, or that thing was a hovercraft or a drone or whatever. But then there's some stuff that the government knows how to pay attention to, that other countries are doing or that they're experimenting with, that we can't tell you why we know it's not an alien craft, but it's not an alien craft. I don't know. I found that to be like, there's the intrigue. What is it that the government's doing, or that other countries are doing, that we're able to pay attention to?
That they can't tell us about.
Yeah, up in the sky.
Yeah,
love it. Hey, Alex has a great comment before we get into our larger one, which is quirks and quarks and nano quarkies and hadron colliders and CERN and just all the great words. Alex says, let me try to move that around so it's a little bit more readable. Alex writes, I read the color of the sky is actually a bluish purple or violet. What do you say? What do you say about that?
Well, my thought is that that may be true in a certain sort of. My first reaction is I've not heard that before. Not like that. But I do know that the phenomenon that leads to the blue sky is more significant at lower frequency, at shorter wavelengths, rather, at purple wavelengths. But I think that our eyes are not as sensitive to deep purple colors as they are to blue. And there's also, well,
Huh.
I mean, in a certain technical narrow sense, yeah, the response of the effect that creates the blue sky is more energetic and more powerful at short wavelengths, at purple wavelengths. But the physiological, our eyes' response to the color is definitely blue, not purple. But yeah, in a sense, it is.
I guess I don't even understand why that's a question. Is it,
What do you mean?
like, does someone think the sky is not blue? I mean, is somebody just out on, like, are these people that live in Portland and it's just always kind of gray and cloudy? And someone says, no, the sky is really blue. And they're like, yeah, I've been looking at the sky my whole life. It's gray. It's gray and sad.
Yeah, right.
What,
yeah, no.
What is the question?
The point is that there's a lot of purple light in the sky, but there's also a lot of sort of yellow and green light in it. But when you mix it all together, it definitely comes out, in a sense, like an average of blue. So,
actually a bluish purple violet. The sky's actually violet.
That'd be cool, but
isn't that all just light refraction and the level to which the human eye has a spectrum that it can translate into color? Is there really color? Or isn't, I mean, isn't color just
color is it's a crazy thing when you think about it, but it's our brain's response to basically different wavelengths.
Yeah, I thought color was just a mental concept. No.
It basically is created in our mind. I mean, I'm not saying it's not real. It refers to something that is measurable, which is the wavelength of light.
Yes, but if someone's colorblind or whatever, they don't.
Right, and
isn't there also something about blue, the color blue, that like before 1840 it was never in, like, it wasn't a category that blue.
That may be so, although it's hard to believe that such a basic thing as blue.
Yeah, I think that's what makes it fascinating. If somebody's got their fingers on the keyboard, they should Google that and then put it in the chat if they know something about this. When did blue become a thing? When did blue become new?
Yeah, I mean, you could ask that about anything, right? I mean, at some point in the distant past, we
should
vaguely aware of all kinds of things, but we didn't put names on them until much later.
Yeah. But it feels like this blue thing, is a real doozy of a, like, hey, we didn't use it as a category.
That's hard to believe. Wow.
Okay.
Like until last couple centuries, you're saying?
Oh yeah. So something like that, like super recently. Like people referred to it as purple or green, or I don't know, something. I get, real hazy what goes on inside my memory. So,
Yeah. Well, I'll look that up.
All right.
When did blue become a thing?
Yeah. When did blue become a thing? Well, look, hey, Alex, Yabbits, Joanne, Kimberly, any of you Dodie, any of you I see watching here. I don't see you watching. I haven't turned your camera on yet on your computers. I just see that you've made some comments and see that you're here. All right. Okay, Paul, let's talk about the big story of the day. I sent you this article because the Popular Mechanics again turned our attention to the CERN collider. This thing for 30 years, I mean, for literally, it feels like my entire adult life of paying attention to anything science related. The CERN, CERN collider, where I think they were looking for the God particle there too, right? The same God particle hunting place.
Yeah, was that the Higgs boson?
The Higgs boson.
Is that what they called the God
they're looking for?
Yeah.
I mean, they're doing all this stuff. It's this, I don't know, a 17-mile long big collider where they're ramming, colliding protons and neutrons and things together. Just is so mind-bending to me. I've had friends who have traveled just to see it, like to go to the gate, just to know that it's actually real and exists. And Popular Mechanics has a great article. If someone's at all interested in this, they should look up the plasma that birthed the early universe. So I just want to talk to you about it because the stuff about quarks and quirks and all the rest is just wonderful. So for those who are the uninitiated as of yet, And again, speak to us like we're freshmen there at Agnes Scott, not those fancy advanced classes that you put on the whiteboard the other day. What are they doing with this collider, and how does this whole thing work?
Well, basically, the idea is that, I mean, the universe, we believe started in what we have come to call the Big Bang, that it began as an extremely dense, extremely hot, essentially like a point.
Mm-hmm.
And at that, and for the first, millionth of a second or so, it was so hot that there were no protons or neutrons or anything like that. Now, what that means is this. I mean, think about it. If you take a watch, anything that's built up of smaller pieces.
Okay.
And you take it off your wrist, and if you shake it, right, nothing happens. But if you shake it more violently, it's going to start to come apart, right? As you shake your watch more violently, pieces are going to start flying off after a while. If you're quick enough with the shaking, right?
Yeah, right.
Makes sense,
right?
I mean, it can't hold together under certain conditions.
Yeah.
And so that's the same thing with matter. I mean, with all kinds of matter. So if I take a molecule and I shake it at a certain frequency of shaking, right, the different atoms are going to start flying off of it. And if I shake it even harder, then the electrons will start flying off of it, off of the atoms. And if I have the nucleus and keep shaking it harder, the protons and neutrons will come apart.
Now, when did people who study this realize that was possible? When are they like, look, things are stable, but also you put enough shake in the bake and you're going to get them to come apart.
So I don't know.
Like in the 20s? Would have been, or like is this
on the sort of atomic and smaller scale, sometime in probably the early 20th century.
Like we already had cars when they figured this out. It's pretty new.
But what you have to realize is that all a hot thing is, like, if I want to take this water here and boil it, all I'm doing is taking those water molecules and shaking them around more and more violently. That's all that high temperature is.
So heat is just causing shake or movement.
Right. So if you make something hot enough, make any stuff, water, anything hot enough, then those water molecules will fly apart after a while. And that's what, boiling is not quite that. But basically, and if you keep on heating up, the atoms can't hang together. And if you heat it more than that, the protons and neutrons can't hang together.
Okay. All right.
And so in the early universe, it was so hot that nothing could hang together. There were no atoms or molecules in the early universe.
Okay.
It's too hot.
So I guess a presumption here is things were super hot, like beyond, because this article used something to refer to the CERN, that the temperatures they get to are like 1 trillion degrees or something like that. Right. I mean, I saw that and just was like, how on earth can they calculate that kind of temperature? Like way, like super hotter than the sun and everything else. Like just
way, 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 way hotter than the sun.
They're
in the center of the sun
to heat these things up inside this collider to 1 trillion degrees.
Yeah. But you got to remember, we're not talking about a volume the size of a shoebox at 1 trillion degrees. We're talking about something the size of a nucleus at 1 trillion degrees. A very tiny thing.
Wow. How do they even measure? Okay. Yeah, we can get to how they measure all this stuff in a bit. All right. So the basic understanding is you heat something up, you shake it enough, it's going to come apart, and its separate elements are going to be no longer bound to each other.
Right. And so all you're going to get is a soup of parts instead of the thing itself.
Instead of a whole. Okay.
Instead of the whole, yes.
All right. So this is a bad illustration. So you take a piece of meat, you put it in a stew, and you keep heating it up. And pretty soon that piece of meat just comes apart, opens up, and then later turns into broth and kind of, like that sort
liquefies.
Of thing. Yeah. Liquefies.
And then you keep doing that. Something it'll evaporate it'll evaporate, and then you heat up the vapor, and
Oh, yeah.
the molecules will start to come apart and so forth.
Okay. All right. So that's the basic notion here.
Basically,
that's
the
just what
idea
they know
is
is up.
basically the idea is to learn about what makes up matter.